Luca had never witnessed such behavior from an animal before. A massive bear kept appearing at his doorstep, almost like it wanted him to follow. At first, Luca didn't think much of it, but one day curiosity got the better of him, and what he discovered left him astonished. It marked a fresh start for Luca and his family when they moved into a new home nestled by the woods. Luca cherished nature and wanted his kids to experience it fully, so the move brought him immense joy. However, their newfound proximity to nature soon became overwhelming. Andrea, Luca's wife, wasn't as keen on the move initially, but after many discussions, Luca persuaded her. The first couple of days in their new abode were idyllic. They took leisurely strolls, the children frolicked happily. Luca was convinced he had made the right choice. Then, one morning, his children excitedly woke him up and led him downstairs. There it was, a bear. Bears were known to roam that part of the forest, sometimes drawn to homes by the scent of food or curiosity about trash bins. It's worth mentioning that Luca's home was mostly glass, a design choice made by architects familiar with the area. The glass was reinforced, ensuring no bear could break in. Luca reassured his children it was a safe opportunity to observe a bear up close, without any danger. This encounter with the bear became a memorable lesson in living so close to nature for Luca and his family. As they approached the bear, it almost seemed to welcome them. There was a strange invitation in its demeanor, urging them closer, and they obliged. But as they moved a few steps nearer, the bear suddenly leaped up and dashed into the woods. Once a bit inside the forest, it turned to gaze back at them, as if silently inviting them to follow. Luca was taken aback by the bear's peculiar behavior, though he brushed it off initially. The next sighting occurred when Andrea came downstairs early one morning for a warm glass of milk. Startled, she spotted the bear. Luca and the kids had mentioned seeing it before, but she hadn't believed them until now. She was furious with Luca. How could they stay in a house where a bear kept visiting? After the third visit, Luca noticed a pattern, so he decided to wait by the glass door. The next morning, true to form, the bear reappeared and repeated its strange routine. It was evident the bear wanted to lead them somewhere, but why? A feeling deep within Luca urged him to follow the bear, so he trusted his instincts. Approaching the door cautiously, Luca watched as the bear darted into the woods, stopping and waiting for him to come after. Nervous but intrigued, Luca stepped out, maintaining a safe distance. Each time he followed, the bear kept moving forward. Maybe it needed assistance. Then again, what if this was a ploy to lure him deep into the forest for an attack? 15 minutes passed, and Luca continued trailing the bear. The more he followed, the more convinced he became that the bear meant no harm. If it had malicious intent, surely it would have struck by now. The hike led Luca deeper into parts of the forest he'd never explored, marveling at its untouched beauty. Yet he couldn't afford to let his guard down, especially with the bear close by. An hour passed before the bear finally halted. Back home, Luca imagined his family waking up. He'd left a note, but if Andrea knew what he was up to, she'd never forgive him. The bear now stood in a forest clearing, sniffing anxiously, searching for something. Luca felt unease creeping in and considered retreating slowly, heading back home. But as he edged backward, the bear turned, teeth bared. Luca froze, and the bear resumed its search. It dawned on him then the danger of the situation he'd willingly walked into. What had possessed him to follow this bear? Moments later, the bear rose onto its hind legs, fixating on something in the distance, driven by a scent it had picked up. Meanwhile, Luca pondered his next move. He waited, hoping the bear might leave him behind, but its gaze returned, compelling him to continue trailing. The pace quickened, challenging Luca to keep up. The bear seemed urgent now, reigniting Luca's curiosity. What was driving it? Their path seemed carved through the forest, indicating prior human activity. Signs of people became more apparent, surprising Luca. This area wasn't as untouched as where they'd started. Suddenly, Luca recognized their destination, an isolated wooden hut peeking through the trees. Technically his neighbors, though they hadn't yet met. In such secluded surroundings, neighborly bonds were harder to forge. Luca knew little about the man who lived there. What role did this neighbor play in the unfolding events? Luca couldn't grasp the situation entirely, but he found himself strangely relieved that the bear had led him here. Perhaps the neighbor could assist in deterring the bear or guiding him back home safely. As Luca approached the hut, he heard his neighbor's urgent cries from inside, accompanied by the bear's persistent thumping against the garage door. Suddenly the door swung open, revealing another bear lying on the garage floor. So that's what had the bear so agitated. The bear inside was breathing heavily and clearly in distress. It was a smaller bear, leading Luca to believe it was the cub, and the bear that led him here must have been its mother. As they reunited, Luca hurried to his neighbor to find out what had happened. The man had discovered the sick cub in the woods an hour earlier, assuming its mother had abandoned it. Concerned for its survival, he brought it home with plans to take it to the vet. It dawned on Luca this was what the bear had been searching for earlier. She had left her cub here while she sought Luca's help, explaining why she was so insistent he follow her and wouldn't let him turn back. With the help of a veterinarian, Luca and his neighbor managed to provide care for the distressed animals. The mother bear was taken to a temporary facility while the cub received treatment. Once the cub recovered, they were both released back into the wild. Since then, Luca's family has occasionally glimpsed the two bears. The last time they saw them, the bears appeared healthy and thriving. The mama bear no longer visited Luca's home, which suited everyone just fine. Luca was grateful he could assist, but also relieved it had concluded well. What a remarkable story, isn't it? It's always heartwarming when animals, especially wild ones, seek help from humans. If you enjoyed today's tale, remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.